Male, female, intersex, there's some truth in that one. Transgender. I'm confronting this. Transitioning, so the process of changing genders becomes a gender. Trans woman, trans man, I can do this! Polygender, I will debunk this whole thing. Non-binary, pangender, the feeling of having every gender. Gender fluid, moving between genders or having a fluctuating gender identity. Edemas gender, a gender which refuses to be categorized. Just got categorized. Bigender. Okay, agender. Gender apathetic, when you really do not identify nor care about any particular gender. Aren't these just becoming mental illnesses now? I mean, I'm serious about it. Wouldn't you be really confused, if you're a gender that is super complex and impossible to describe in a single term, like Novi gender? Wouldn't that be really confusing? A gender which is affected by mood swings. Affectu gender. This has got to be... We need to call up some psychologists here, and we need to figure out what the heck is going on. Androgen. I can't even pronounce these things. I'm so bad in English, even though it's my first language. Demi-pansexual, a sexual orientation on the asexual spectrum, and is the combination of pansexual and demisexual. Whatever that means. Nocturnal gender, a gender that feels more intense during the night, but weak or non-existent when it is light out. Right. So you're a night owl and suddenly that becomes a gender. What, so you can't get aroused only when it's nighttime? Don't you need some help with that maybe? Isn't that some sort of... Okay, well, SP gender, a gender that is related to being a spirit of or exists on a higher or extra dimensional level. Vapogender. Let's go back to that. Vapogender feels like smoke. Can be seen on a shallow level, but once you go deeper, it disappears and you are left with no gender. The glasses are off. I want to leave you with this, and it has something to do with affirmation. Is it really wise for someone to affirm anything and everything someone else believes in regards to their sexuality, as well as how they feel? When kids grow up, there's a difference between fiction and reality. Kids play make-believe. They play pretend. They play as police officers and firefighters and fairies and heroes. And those things are only acknowledged insofar as they are pretend. That's how children differentiate between pretend and reality. And there's a fine line in between. And so, even with companies, is it a wise idea to affirm anything and everything a company believes in regards to its practice, in regards to what it's doing, in regards to its marketing? If that were the case, there'd be no critical feed of information and there'd be so much blind spots. There'd be no improvement as well. And that business would soon become stagnant. And that business would soon even practice malpractice. Even with government. Does the government reach a point where we have to affirm anything and everything it does? Do police officers reach that point where we affirm anything and everything that they do or believe? What about religion? Do we affirm anything and everything that religious people believe? At the end of the day, there are boundaries. And at the end of the day, everyone should be free to be challenged. And so what are we doing with a generation of people now? What's happened is people have decided to affirm anything and everything people believe in regards to their sexuality. We know how destructive that would be in government if everything were to be affirmed and there'd be no criticism or standards by which to say no to a government. We know how bad that would be in religion if anything and everything that a pastor or an organization said could not be challenged or was affirmed in terms of belief, in terms of practice. Same thing with businesses. And yet, we do this with said people in a certain community, the LGBTQ plus community, where anything and everything that they believe or feel in regards to their sexuality is to be affirmed, is to be acknowledged, is to be celebrated, is to be emphasized. And if those who are critical, those who set boundaries, were to criticize this, they would be seen as hateful, homophobic, bigoted, ultra-religious zealots, or whatever you want to call it. And so we don't do it with children. We don't affirm everything and everything that they believe or feel. And and it's so important, in fact, that it's the way that kids differentiate between imagination and reality. That yes, there is an imagination that exists, that is to be acknowledged, but that is not also reality. It's called play pretend. And so affirming anything and everything is a dangerous idea, especially when it comes to individual humans, especially when in regards to sexuality, because anything and everything then goes. And no organization, well, not in a long time, in fact, even has that privilege. Those organizations that did have that privilege of being affirmed in everything and everything they did, those were totalitarian organizations where no one could question the leader, where he was affirmed, where he was submitted to blindly or because of fear. And so that's the case. And so I leave you with this. Is it, when you really think about it, such a wise idea to believe anything and everything, to affirm the belief of someone who believes anything and everything in regards to their sexuality?